when did physical culture start in America? I mean, fitness in 2026 is omnipresent. According to Statistica in 2024, there were 55,000 what it calls fitness facilities in America. According to IBIS World, there are over 100,000, 6,547 gym, health, and fitness clubs in the United States as of 2025. This was not always the case. So when did the physical culture begin in America? In the book Strength Coaching in America, A History of Innovation That Transformed Sports by Jan Todd, Jason P. Shirley, and Terry Todd, on page 28, they put 1893 as the beginning of physical culture boom in America when Eugen Sandow performed at the Chicago World's Fair. His performance would impact many, including Bernard McFadden, considered the father of physical culture in America, and an 18-year-old man's name, Alan Calvert. More on him later. Eugen Sandow performed all the feats of strength. He lifted barbells, dumbbells, ponies. He did the Tomb of Hercules, also known as the Human Bridge.
But what made his performance stand out compared to the previous strongmen of the past was his proportionate muscle and beautifully developed Greek-like physique. David Chapman put it like this: he had mountains of flesh and sinews. But why 1893 with Eugen Sandow? From Strength Coaching in America, A History of the Innovation That Transformed Sports by Jan Todd, Jason P. Shirley, and Terry Todd on page 28 and 29, they explain it like this, and this is a quote. 2 weeks prior to the opening of Sandow's shows, historian Frederick Jackson Turner asserted that the American frontier had closed as of the 1890 census. Turner argued that this event was significant because the progression of American civilization westward had been integral in shaping American history. Men were transformed by the wilderness from something European into a new product that is America. The frontier offered a space for the exercise of individualism, fostered egalitarianism, and though not explicitly stated, developed manly self-reliance. With the disappearance of the frontier, a certain brand of American masculinity was also passing. In this context, men were willing to embrace the new standard of masculinity set by Sandow, unquote. And before I get into it, I just want to say that this video could not have been made without the following books and articles, and I will post pictures of them and cite them often. Number 1 being Strength, America's First Muscle Magazine, 1914 to 1935, by Kearley Beckworth and Jan Todd. Number 2 being From Milo to Milo, A History of Barbells, Dumbbells, and Indian Clubs, by Jan Todd. Iron Game History, Volume 3, Number 6, 1995. Weightlifting as a Sport, as a Means of Bodybuilding, and as a Profession, by Alan Calvert. The Truth About Weightlifting by Kim Beckwith, Iron Game History, Volume 10, Number 4. Strength Coaching in America, A History of the Innovation That Transformed Sports by Jan Todd, Jason P. Shirley, and Terry Todd. Strength is Health by George Barker Winship and the First American Weight Training Boom by Jan Todd, Iron Game History, September 1993. And of course, Mr. America, The Tragic History of a Bodybuilding Icon by John D. Fair. Also, it's worth noting that no one looked like Eugen Sandow in the world at the time. Imagine how much of an impression he left on the thousands of men and women who saw him performing at the fair. Young Alan Calvert was one of them. He was no stranger to physical training. At age 10, he bought William Blakey's How to Get Strong and How to Stay So, and Professor Dowd's original Health Exerciser, and followed their training advice faithfully. But it was disappointed by the results. That's when he saw Sandow. He was a true fan. Quote, the 18-year-old Calvert was entranced by Sandow's body. Unlike the bodies of lightweight trainers, Sandow's muscles were round, full, and symmetrical. His broad shoulders, thick legs, and defiant abdominals reminded Calvert of statues he'd seen in Philadelphia museums and at the Chicago World's Fair. It made Calvert wonder how he could bring his own physique closer to this new ideal. He returned to see Sandow's exhibition several more times during his stay, and he paid to see the strongman again when Sandow played in Philadelphia the following year. Sandow became his obsession. Calvert began collecting cabinet cards and photographs of Sandow's inspirational body. Quote, "I couldn't get enough of them," he later wrote, and I think that was because Sandow's figure appeared to be perfect, no matter from what angle the picture was taken. Inspired by Sandow, as so many others were, Calvert found a new focus for his training. Calvert knew what was possible even if his family thought he was wasting his time, unquote. And that's from Strength, America's First Muscle magazine, 1914 to 1935. It was during that time that he figured out that Sandow used other methods of training besides his light dumbbell system to achieve his level of physical development. You need to lift, push, and press heavy weights. Simple, right? Just get yourself some heavy barbells and dumbbells and you're set. Not quite. You see, back in 1894, barbells and heavy weights weren't really a thing. This is a quote. During the 1880s and 1890s, heavy dumbbells and barbells were nearly impossible to find. In America, Peck and Snyder's price list of out and indoor sport and pastimes for 1886, for example, offered a good assortment of rowing machines, pulleys, cable exercisers, and wooden clubs and dumbbells. But their iron dumbbells only went up to 15 pounds in weight. No iron barbells of any sort appeared in the catalog. Even at the turn of the century, heavy equipment was not readily available in the United States. The 1902 Sears and Roebuck's catalog, for instance, only offered dumbbells up to 25 pounds in weight. Again, no barbells were available for purchase, unquote. And that's from Milo to Milo. Even more tragic, Americans thought that weight training was in fact dangerous to your health, all because of one unfortunate event. George Barker Winship, from 1834 to 1876, was the guy who introduced weight training in America as a way to better one person's health. In 1859, he said that he invented the barbell. Quote, in 1859, well in advance of Professor Attila, George Barker Winship decided to try him to see if he could put up the greatest weight on record. He procured two 68-pound shells and screwed them on a wrought iron handle, creating an empty dumbbell of 141 pounds, which was capable of being increased to 180 pounds by the simple process of pouring shot into the cavities of the shells. After having first separated them from the handle, Winship also appears to have the best claim of being the inventor of plate loading equipment. In his quest for size and strength, Winship used his considerable creativity to develop and patent several exercise devices. One of these was a plate loading dumbbell, which he began marketing in 1865. Winship's dumbbell could be adjusted from 8 to 101 pounds in half-pound increments. It sold for $16. That is $319 in today's money. And that quote is from Milo to Milo yet again. And then tragedy struck. Just as weight training became popular, and he did thousands of seminars on weightlifting, he suddenly died of an aneurysm at the age of 42 years old. Many doctors at the time attributed his heavy weight training as the cause of his death. And let it be known that any aneurysm can happen to anybody regardless of their lifestyle. So when Calvert wanted to buy heavy weights, the best he could do, or have gotten in 1894 to 1895, were a pair of iron dumbbells that went from 50 to 50 pounds. For most people, that'd be enough. You can achieve a good level of strength and physical development with just that. But Alan wanted to be more like his idol. What I'm about to say cannot be proven, but I assume that Alan did train from 1895 to 1902 using light to medium weight dumbbells, but not getting the results he wanted. He did something drastic. Quote, He designed his own weight equipment. Calvert's father, Pearson Butler Calvert, had owned a tin plating business since Allen's birth, 1875. As a result, Allen was familiar with metalworking, which facilitated his ability to design and make barbells. Oh, well, how convenient. He applied for first barbell patent in January 1902 and opened the Milo Barbell Company in April of the same year. According to David P. Willoughby, the opening of Milo was, quote, the greatest single impetus ever given to weightlifting in this country. Barbells with a standard design could now be acquired with relatively easy by prospective lifters and gyms. To advertise this new product, Calvert took out advertisements in McFadden's Physical Culture and Richard K. Fox's National Police Gazette. As noted, heavy strength training was not something that McFadden advocated, so readers of his magazine were not overly eager to purchase Calvert's barbell. He created his own guidebook in the form of Strength Magazine in 1914. And this is from Strength Coaching in America, A History of the Innovation That Transformed Sports by Jan Todd. The magazine, which can be subject for its own video, lasted from 1914 to 1935 and helped pave the way for York Barbell and many other icons of the Silver Era. John Grimmick, Sigmund Klein, Harry Peschel all made their start in Strength Magazine. Calvert promoted heavy workouts to achieve the maximum of strength and of the pinnacle of physical development. Quote, Calvert believed that training with light weights all the time, which also included the futile piffle of group work performed at the local gymnasium, was just a step above a total waste of time. He often referred it in demeaning terms. Gymnasiums do a lot of good. They occupy the spare time of many otherwise intelligent men who stand in rows before the instructors and wave their arms and legs about doing kindergarten calisthenics in a chirpy manner. The popularity of these lightweight systems caused Calvert to observe, if there were anything in light dumbbell exercise, the United States by his time would be the finest developed nation in the world. You would meet Samsons and Apollos in every block, for I suppose almost every man has in his time practiced light dumbbell exercises to some extent. And that's from Strength Magazine, 1914 to 1935. He did say that the light dumbbell system is good for those beginners with no prior lifting experience. And he did more than just sell fitness equipment. He dispelled the false notion that training with heavy weights would lead to a condition known as muscle bound, that you would die prematurely. More importantly, he exposed charlatans and their tricks. Infamously, strongman and mail-order muscle vendor Lionel Strongfort, his real name being Max Unger, launched an attack on Calvert and Milo Barbell Company for not believing and recognizing a one-arm shoulder press record that Lionel Strongfort allegedly held at 312 pounds. The official record at the time was a man named Nordquist, who held the record for one arm press at 277 and 1/4 pounds. Note, reading more on regulations at the time, the one press was not the strict military style one-arm press. The lift itself would have been a one-arm side press. It may have looked something like this. It looks like Fred Winter's press, the winner of the 1904 Olympics. Calvert joined forces with another physical culture entrepreneur, Professor Titus. They put out a $100 challenge, which would be $2,500 in 2026. And here was the challenge. I'm heartily in accord with the ideas expressed in Mr. Coulter's article. I believe in the establishment of an association to govern lifting and to make rules which will place lifters on an equal basis. Every good lifter will welcome such an association. My experience is that every first-class lifter is always anxious to lift in order to prove what he can do. Strict rules never bother a good man. Every first-class lifter that I have known has not only invited but welcomed the most searching examination of his records and eagerly seizes every chance to prove his claims. Every record ever claimed in this magazine for pupils of the Milo Barbell Company will stand every investigation. For instance, there is nothing Nordquist enjoys more than lifting for official records, and he joins with me in insisting on the weighing of the bells and the rigid inspection of the scales, etc. Nordquist holds the present American record in the one-arm press at 77 1/4 pounds. I understand that Mr. Max Unger states that I do him an injustice and claims that Lai holds the record with 312 pounds. I have researched the records in every country, but I'm unable to find Mr. Unger's name among the list of record holders. And I looked both for his own name and for his stage name. I have made inquiries in every direction. Several well-known lifters have told me that Mr. Unger never pressed 5/6 of what he claims, but no man's claims should be denied without first giving him a chance to prove them. I figure that 5/6 of 312 pounds would be 260 pounds. I will gladly make Mr. Unger a present of $100, again $2,500 in today's money, if he will raise to the shoulder with two hands and then with the right arm slowly press to arm's length above the head a barbell weighing 260 pounds. I have mailed a certified check of $100 to the Physical Culture Publishing Company with directions to them to hand it over to Mr. Unger if he succeeds in lifting the above amounts of weight. The only conditions imposed is that the lift must take place in either New York or Philadelphia before March 1st, 1917, and that it must be made in the presence of Professor Rollandow and Professor Titus and myself. The two gentlemen I have just mentioned are well known and highly honored in the weightlifting world. Understand this is not a bet, Mr. Unger. He does not have a risk a cent. I simply present him with $100 if he succeeds in making the lift. I have named the moderate amount of 260 pounds because I figure that any lifter can, at the time, without training, make a lift equivalent to 5/6 of his best performance. Every courtesy that the Milo Barbell Company can afford and every assistance in our power will be offered to Mr. Unger if he makes the attempt. Wow, I mean, put up or shut up, right? In the March issue of Strength, we found out the results of the challenge. Mr. Unger did not accept. For the information of many readers who wrote to inquire, I would state that Mr. Unger did not accept the cash prize offer I made in the January number of Strength. I will be glad to renew the offer at any time and will even give the money to Mr. Unger if he can raise 250 pounds by the right arm in a bent press style. Or I will give a lump sum, a larger prize, if he will support within 1,000 pounds as much as he claims to support in the human bridge. Actions like this made it so that weightlifting was finally being recognized as a legitimate sport, not just a phony spectacle on the vaudeville stage. These efforts led to the creation of the American Continental Weightlifters Association, the first nationwide sports governing body for the weightlifting in the United States. However, the First World War brought hard times. In 1919, he sold Milo Barbell Company and Strength Magazine to Richard L. Hunter and Daniel G. Redmond. He was still a contributor to Strength Magazine, and the new owners did try to phase him out. Then the 1929 economic crash brought more trouble to the company and its magazine. Quote, upon the bankruptcy of Milo Barbell Company and the termination of Strength Magazine in 1935, Bob Hoffman acquired their assets and copyright entitlements for $4,000, $95,000 in today's money, making New York virtually the only barbell manufacturer in the country. And that's from Mr. America, The Tragic History of a Bodybuilding Icon. Alan Calvert died on June 24th, 1944 at the age of 69. Hope you guys liked this video. Let me know in the comments if you want more videos like this before you are asking. Yes, myself and my co-writer are researching and working on a video about Bob Hoffman and the York Barbell Company.